Hello, everyone. This is Stephen Kim of Healthy Expressions. I am a relationship and marriage coach, and every Friday at noon we have a Q&A time. And last week was our first one, and to be honest, it was there wasn't anyone that was on, but I do have one of my clients. They don't have Facebook, but I think I text them, you can ask me the question via text. And so I'm going to do that. I know this is all chaotic. This is all crazy. This is what I'm trying to do. Maybe in the future, like even starting today, the Facebook, trying to start before noon. I was having issues with my desktop, so I went to my laptop. Um, and just all these things happening. So I don't want to be discouraged. I'm just going to keep going forward. But my one client, he asked me this question: what is the topic? What I wanted to do, um, you know, I'm trying to connect with him, um, and try to get this online. Um, and so I apologize. This is just, crazy things. Again, I planned, and as you know, many times when you plan things, sometimes it does not end up the way that you want it to go. I'm not going to be discouraged. I'm just going to kind of keep on rolling and rolling and rolling. But today, um, I think, um, I'm just going to talk about, 7 ideas to enhance your communication with your partner. And apologize, I'm going back and forth. Um, and so, forgive me, uh, but there's not too many. But I do after, as you know about Facebook, after the live event, then it's saved onto the Facebook page, but I also copy it and make a copy for Healthy Expressions YouTube channel. My thing is, I'm not trying to get big and famous. I just want to help couples. And so, this is what we do. I think, as years ago, I used to think that social media was bad, but it's with anything. You can take something and use it for your own selfish gain, to hurt other people, or you can use it to, better your community, better the people around you, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I know that the major issue with couples is communication. I have all these couples that I see online, and of course, they have their own unique little issues because they're different. Each couple is different from one another. But it comes down to this, that every couple, they have basically the same issues, but packaged in a different way. And the major issue in all the couples that I've talked to, will talk to also, is communication. It's communication. And so I want to, and here's the thing. I know men tend to be more, it's harder for them to talk and especially open up and talk. But if you are in a relationship or a marriage right now, and it's not going the way that you want it to go, it's probably because your communication connection with your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, is not connecting. It's not working. And so I think that for men, you have to get better in communicating. And I know some people will be watching this and they're a guy, they'll be like, why should I? Because whatever you value in your life, you will put effort and your resources and your attention to. So I think that if you see that your relationship or your marriage is going south, you should be able to say, because my relationship, because my marriage is very important, I'm going to do something about it. Because, as guys, we have a lot of hobbies, right? So do women. Whatever we enjoy, whatever we see as value, we will put our effort, our resources, our time into it. And I say this, not to scare people, is this. I'm in the state of New Jersey. And if you're married, if you want to get a divorce, or even if you're not married, you're just living together, the average cost of a divorce in the state of New Jersey is at least between $40,000 to $60,000. That includes hiring the lawyers, court fees, travel time. And when you're living together, then you have to separate your resources, what you own, what the other person owns. It becomes very messy. And if there are children involved, if you have kids, it makes it more complicated. Not maybe for your kids, not financially, but emotionally, mentally, you're screwing them up. Because for children, their parents, married or not married, that's the foundation of the home. So if you really want to mess up your kids, get a divorce, split up, right? There are a lot of couples that I realized in the very beginning that they're stubborn. They don't want to realize that they are part of the problem, that they think it's all about the other person. But the reality is, it takes two people to make a marriage and relationship good, and it's those same two people to make it bad. And so for you men, but it could also be women, if your communication sucks, if it's bad, and I can say sucks, right? If it's bad, you can change that. If you don't want to lose that other person in your marriage or in your relationship, you will do everything. You will move the world to make sure that that person does not leave you. Right? Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So, all these live Q&As, hopefully I'll have like a topic and then I can talk about it. I would assume that with the majority of the time, topics will be on communication. Because that's the major thing that couples have an issue with. So, the 7 ideas to enhance your communication with your partner. And some of you may understand this. You're talking to the other person, and they're not there. They're not there. In order for you to have great communication, you need to listen. Listening and hearing what the other person is saying is maybe half or majority of your communication skills. Being able to listen, not passively, like you're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, and your wife or your significant other is talking to you and you're like, it's going one ear or what the other because you're focused on watching your show. You are telling that other person, I really don't care about you. This show, what I'm watching, is more important than what you have to say and what you're feeling. All right? Yay. My one client, he's on and he's watching, so I got one. But that's what I mean. Listening is very important in your communication skills. So if you're not listening well, then your communication skills are bad. And another thing about communicating, what we want to do as people is talk, 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 talk. We want to get our point across. We want to get our feelings across. We want to get our will, our pride across, instead of what does the other person, what are they saying? What are they feeling? All right? It's about being selfish. In a committed relationship, selfishness cannot be in your relationship. It just can't. For a relationship to be healthy and last a long time, you can't be selfish. You can't say, what about my feelings? What about what I think? Of course, after you listen to the other person talk, express their feelings, then you can chime in and tell them your feelings and what you're thinking. But what a lot of couples do is they start to let their emotions take over and they talk, 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 talk. And when the other person says something, they will talk over them. They'll continue to talk. So that person is not really listening to the other person. Is that you? And so I'm going to give you 7 tips to enhance your communication with your partner. If you have no clue, right? That's my dog. I think they hear someone outside the door, but there shouldn't be anyone coming. If you want to get better in your communication, this is what you need to do. First thing, when you're talking with your partner, your spouse, you want to be an active listener, not a passive one. Passive is just like you're zoning out, you're just not paying attention. Because a lot of times you are not paying attention to the details of what the other person is saying. So the first thing the first tip to better your communication is ask more questions. Ask more questions. Because when you ask questions, it shows the other person that you're engaged in the conversation, that you're showing interest in their life. Maybe they're complaining about their job or their work or coworker. But when you engage in actively listening, and then it also shows that you're interested in them, not just in their job, but in them, it draws you guys closer to one another. Rather than saying, you had a fight with your coworker and stuff like that, you would say, well, how did it get started? Right? And what guys tend to do is when they hear a problem, what do guys do? We want to fix it. We want to find a solution. But for women, they just want to be heard. They already know what to do. They already have a solution. But they want someone to hear them. And that person closest to them is you. So you need to really listen to them. And a lot of times when there's infidelity, I would say the majority of the time is their spouse was not listening to them or was not hearing them out for a consistent amount of time. So they talk to someone at work that will listen to them, will be concerned with them. And there you go. So when your partner, your significant other, is telling you stuff, I don't want you to just zone them out and say, I know this, I got this. Yeah. But ask them questions. Ask them questions. And maybe you asking those questions helps them to find a solution. See, you're two, you become one, you're a team. And so ask those active questions. Second tip to better your communication with your partner, with your significant other, with your spouse, is, like I said countless times before, is to listen. You not only have to listen to what the other person says, but you have to hear what they're saying. You have to hear what they're saying. Are you really hearing what they're saying? And I'm going to get to these questions that my client is asking me, but I want to get through these tips first in communication. I think he asked me, well, how do you deal with feelings that you are being zoned out with offending your partner? Well, I think, like I said, when I meet with a couple, usually it's not one person that has problems and issues and bad habits that they have to fix. It's both of them. It's both of them. And so that person has to get rid of that bad habit of just zoning out, but really listening, actively listening and hearing what the other person says. Listening. Number 3, you have to communicate your needs. What some people do is they react through emotion. They react through emotion. They react through emotion instead of communicating their needs. Communicating your needs is one of the best things you can do for yourself and your relationship. To tell them, this is how I feel. This is what I need right now. When you express your needs to the other person and they clearly hear you and they do it, that's a sign of love and respect. A lot of times, men and women, we're different. We're different creatures. And we react differently, we hear things differently. But the thing that we can do that is common and similar to both men and women is to communicate our needs. And some people, like I said, are not good in communicating. They just want to yell and scream and throw stuff and just get very emotional. And it's hard for that type of person to tell their significant other or their spouse or whoever to say, I'm hurt right now. Could you just give me a hug? Or could you just give me words of affirmation? Because they've been doing that bad habit for most of their lives. So it's really hard for them for when I tell them you need to change that habit. With any bad habit, sometimes it lasts. I mean, it started when we're young and it lasts for decades. And it's very hard to change. But we have to. Number 4 is spend more time together. And I know what you're thinking. We have 2 or 3 kids. They're young. They take up a lot of our time and energy. You can make it work by talking and planning things together. To say, you know what, we need to spend more time with one another. Right? We need to spend more time together. So you don't necessarily have to go to every PTA meeting. You don't have to hang out with your friends all the time. You don't have to, go downstairs to the basement to do your hobby all the time. But I'm telling you that if you spend more time with your spouse, significant other, you're putting into it. You're investing in it more and more. Because the more time you spend with them, the more communication comes about. You get to hear, and again, we're changing. We're constantly changing as people. I'm not the same that I was last year or a few years ago. So if the other person doesn't know that you're changing or your viewpoints on certain things change, you will end up years from now as strangers. Couples are not putting in that time and effort in their relationship. And that's why they feel distant from one another. So please, spend more time together. I usually tell couples twice a month. Twice a month, go out. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4 hours. It could be an hour. Take an afternoon break. Go get some coffee together. And some couples don't like this. I tell them, your kids are awesome and they're special and they should be very important, but they are not the glue for your marriage or your relationship. Your commitment to one another, that's the glue that holds you guys together, not your kids. Your kids are not going to be living with you for the rest of their life. Some kids would, as grown adults, some of them do actually, but for the most part, your children will grow up and they will leave. And if you're basing your relationship on your kids, and when they go, there goes your foundation. There goes your foundation. So spend more time together. Number five. Again, we're live. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm hoping that as these videos go out there, that people see that as value, that they learn something, that they really see it, that it's helping them a little. So I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm not one of those people that has professional lighting and this beautiful background and all this. I'm just doing this. The value is in the content and not everything else. But anyway, number 5, avoid assumptions. Assumptions lead to misunderstandings and hurt feelings. When you assume, when that other person says something to you and it hurts you, do not assume that they're saying it to actually hurt you. That's what your feelings are saying. They said this. You can't. When you assume things, right? Going back to the spending more time together, this person asked, what if your spouse states that they're there because of the kids? Is it possible to make them see differently? Yes. Or fall in love with you again? Yes. Is it possible if they feel that way already? See, a lot of times parents forget, because when you're just you and the other person, you have all this, like my wife and I, we talk about, and we're like, what would we do with the time, the extra time we had before we had kids? And I can't remember. We had so much time. Now with kids, running around doing this and that, but as a couple, you sometimes you do forget. Because you're in your career, you got the kids and their schedules, you got other responsibilities around the home, you're running around, so you forget. And this is what I want to warn all couples, is please do not put your relationship or your marriage in the back seat. You have to always make it a priority, because those kids will not be there forever. The other person, your significant other, your spouse, they're supposed to be there forever. But avoid assumptions. Like I said, A lot of couples get into arguments because they assume certain things. They assume that what that other person said to them. They assume that when that person did something, they're assuming that they're being attacked, assuming. Just ask them. Plain, simple English or whatever language you're fluent in, talking with the other person, ask them, when you said that, what does that mean? And they will tell you. And like I said, couples fall into the trap of assumptions and they fall into this huge fight. Instead of someone saying, is that, when you said that, is that what you meant? Or what are you trying to say? And like I said before, men and women are different. Men and women are different. And they talk differently. Your job, if you see that you're in a significant relationship, your job is to understand them. You will never completely understand them in your lifetime. You will slowly get better. Like, you will get better in knowing them more and more. I talk to couples and they say, oh, we've been dating for like 5 years and we've been married for 10 years and like I know everything about them. No, you don't. You don't. Because once you know them, they change over time, right? But we get very lazy in our relationship because we say once we're married or we're with them for a certain amount of years, we know them. I don't have to put as much effort because we're locked in, so to speak. You actually have to work harder and more to make the relationship healthy and strong and long-lasting. The courting, the dating, that's the easy stuff. Now you have to roll up your sleeves and get to work. Number 6, address the situation rather than attack your partner. My wife and I would get like this sometimes. We're frustrated at our kids. I have 2 teenage boys. 2 teenage boys, 17 and 14. And the oldest one, he's ornery. Yeah, I like to use that word once, ornery. He's a handful because he thinks he knows everything. Everything, should work the way that, according to him in his head. But sometimes when my wife and I were frustrated and that frustration builds, this is bad, but a lot of couples do this, is we tend to attack our partner, attack our spouse. And if all those times that happened to us, if we could have just took a step back and say, whoa, are you frustrated at what our son did or what's going on? Why does it seem that you're attacking me? And if I would have said that in that way to my wife years ago, and still like a few days ago, then we would have avoided a huge argument. We would have just talked about it and say, okay, this is what you're frustrated at. So I'm not your enemy. I'm your best friend. I'm your partner. We're going to do this together. So address the situation rather than attack your partner. When people get frustrated and they panic and it causes anxiety, we tend to attack the person closest to us. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally. I just, share this awful story, but I don't like, I used to dread flying, right? I used to dread airplanes. So this is, I think, before our kids were born, and my parents live out in the Midwest, in Ohio. And for some reason, our flight was canceled. We had to take this other, flight to, from Ohio, not to New Jersey, but somewhere in Pennsylvania. And then if we wanted to get another flight from there, or the airline would give us money to rent a car and then drive from there to home. It was a smaller plane, and my hands were on the side armrest, and they were squeezing it. And all my wife did was to ask me, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I bit her head off. That's not right. She was just concerned about me, and she just asked how I'm feeling. I gave her this sarcastic, how do you think I'm feeling? It wasn't her, it was the situation that I was in that I was frustrated in. How many of you are in a situation where you're frustrated or you're anxious or you panic about your job or your kids or something else, nothing to do with that other person, but you kind of vent that or you attack that other person? That's not right. That isn't. They're not your enemy. They are supposed to be your best ally. So address the situation rather than attack your partner. And lastly, and it's hard, this someone to better your communication skills is to have fun together. I think I said earlier, you have to spend time together, right? I know it's hard if you're a parent to take off your parent hat because you're in the midst of diapers, you're in the midst of recitals, you're in the midst of sporting events. But you have to take off that hat and realize your original hat was the significant other or spouse. And you need to have fun. You need to have fun. So I want you to remember those 7 tips and try to apply them in your life. Slowly, I think, people are hearing about me. All my couple clients, clients that are couples that I'm dealing with, all of them have said, excuse me, good things, amazing things. They see changes, good changes in their relationship or their marriage, and that thrills me. And I'm trying to think of ways in my head how to, my goal is not to be famous, right? That's not my goal. My goal is to do something that I'm very good at, to make money, right? To support my family, but to have fun at the same time, to do what I enjoy doing while being paid. If divorce is 50%, you know what? I have my hands full. And here's the thing that I was thinking about the other night. My battle is not against divorce. My battle actually is against divorce lawyers. They're on one side. You say, you know what, just get a divorce. We'll help you. We'll try to get as much as you want. I'm on the other side. I'm saying you have to salvage your marriage and your relationship. And so I'm at war with all the divorce lawyers. And my philosophy is there's nothing, even infidelity, cheating, whatever you want to call it, adultery, if both the people value the relationship, the marriage, it's fixable. It may take some time, but it's fixable. I don't believe in chance or luck. I believe that everything kind of has been planned out, that there's a reason why you're with that other person right now, even if it seems pretty bad. If both of you are willing to work on getting rid of your bad habits and replacing them with healthy, positive habits, then you have a very good chance of being with that person, not for years, but for decades. So I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you for my one client. He got on, he asked me questions, and I'm going to give him a thank you very much. But I do this every Friday at noon. The Q&A time, I'll start with a topic and talk about it, but I want more people to join, more people to ask questions. And I want to help couples. I want to married couples, living together couples. And so if you're watching this, like I said, I copy this. It's going to be on my Facebook page. And then I copy it and the video and put it on my YouTube page, Healthy Expressions. Now, if you're watching this and you like it, if your marriage is or your relationship is in a bad situation, I'm the fixer-upper. I'm the fixer-upper. I come in and I not only give you great tips, but I keep you guys accountable. Accountable. And so if your marriage or relationship is great, I want you to pass this video, pass the Facebook page, Healthy Expressions, pass the YouTube Healthy Expressions to somebody else that you know, family, friends, coworkers, that you know that their marriage, their relationship is bad. And there's another idea, and I'm being very honest, right? I'm trying to think of ways, I'm thinking outside the box, because years ago, it's funny, before the pandemic, people would see a marriage counselor around their town. But now, because of the Zoom and online and the internet, you can find great marriage counselors, marriage therapists, whatever you want to call them, marriage coaches, to help your marriage or to help your relationship. And so, I'm thinking outside the boxes. I would love, and I know some people, to work in a hospital or a corporation. And I'm just processing that. To work in those places, because I need to find some charts and graphs to say if a worker in their company or in the hospital, wherever they're working, if their marriage or their relationship is on the rocks, it's causing a lot of problems in them internally, it's going to affect them emotionally, mentally. It's going to affect their work, right? It's going to affect their work. Just like if you are physically unhealthy and your job is to, carry heavy things and place them somewhere else. If you're physically unhealthy, excuse me, you can't fully do your job correctly and at the optimum level. So I don't know. That's one of the ideas floating in my head is to get my foot in the door and to these hospitals or a corporation or a business, to help those people who are married or living together, to help them in their relationship or marriage, so that they can work at their optimum level, so they're happy, they have peace, that they can work well wherever they're working, as a doctor, as a nurse, as a business person, whatever. So call me crazy, and sometimes my wife says I'm a little crazy, but that's something that I'm trying to work it out in my head. But I just want to thank you if you've been watching. Please share, comment. Even if you watch it afterwards and you have a question, I will look over the question and bring it to next Friday. This coming up Thursday is Thanksgiving. Yay! The only reason, and I hate to say this, but I'm honest, the reason why I love Thanksgiving is because it's the gateway to Christmas. So today actually is when they're going to start playing Christmas music on the radio. Okay? But I'm going to try to do one of these next Friday, Black Friday. Maybe you'll be online or shopping and you can watch this while you're waiting in line. So I want you to have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and check me out. I think on my Facebook page also, it has my website. You can take a look at it. It has my email, my phone number. You can text me, email me, and we'll connect and we'll go from there. So again, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Bye now.